This is Erik Wiegardt.
Hey, this is Derrick Koon.
Hello, this is James Kostecka.
Hi, this is Kathy Bucher.
And this is Todd Obenauer, and you are listening to the College of Stoic Philosophers podcast.
Welcome to the College of Stoic Philosophers podcast, a podcast dedicated to exploring the applied philosophy of traditional Stoicism. The College of Stoic Philosophers is an online school founded in 2008. We at the college endeavor to educate all who would be Stoics and Stoic philosophers who aspire to the good life within the world community. Podcast episodes will include discussions of Stoic history, application, interviews, and much more, all while having some fun, fate permitting. I'm your host, Mark Sterry. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to the College of Stoic Philosophers podcast. The Stoic Registry team of Todd Obenauer, Erik Wiegardt, Derrick, Koon, James Kostecka, and Kathy Bucher, welcome to the College of Stoic Philosophers podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Awesome.
Fabulous.
Let's go around the group here and let us know where you're zooming in from and if there's any kind of interesting thing going on in your cities. James, where are you coming in from?
Santa Clara, right in the heart of Silicon Valley.
Okay. Kathy?
I'm coming in from Poulsbo, Washington, on the other side of the water from Seattle.
Excellent. Todd?
Yeah, I'm on the other side of the water from Katherine in Seattle, Washington proper.
Excellent. Well, buddy Derrick?
I'm in Chicago, about 45 minutes north of Chicago, Vernon Hills, Illinois.
Nice. And Erik?
I'm calling in from San Diego. Nothing special here today. The weather is 72 degrees and sunny, so nothing new there.
Pretty much heaven, Erik?
That's why we call it paradise.
So yes, we're here. I got contacted by my friend Kathy about having the Stoic Registry team on. You guys have a milestone coming up, I believe. So before we start anything, for people that are not familiar with the Stoic Registry, what is the Stoic Registry?
Kathy?
Well, the Stoic Registry, and Erik, I'm gonna toss the football to you in a second. The Stoic Registry is a website that Erik began. Erik, how long ago now?
30 years. 30 years, May 8th.
30 years. There you have it. That's the milestone that we're celebrating. Erik, you will explain more detail about his thinking about starting this process and this website. But today, the website has a group of us who manage it, are inspired by it, encourage and put forward our love to the Stoic world and out there internationally, and it is a site that doesn't try to compete with other sites. It is a site that is particularly interested in helping those who have started to self-identify as a Stoic. So we're really thrilled that it's continued to have such a longevity.
And that is the purpose of the website, is for people to self-identify as a Stoic or practicing Stoic?
Todd, I'm throwing the football to you.
Yeah, and I'm going to turn it over to Erik in a second. But yes, Mark, the intention behind the site, and Erik, you're going to give us a little more history. But like currently, this is a place like where people, if you didn't know where to find other Stoics, come here. And it's turned into this place, like if you want to make a declaration to the rest of the world that you're practicing and that you're a Stoic, we invite you to come put your name on this site. It will evoke like a response and a commitment to this philosophy and worldview.
And what is the format of it? You guys send monthly emails to people that are registered? How does it all work? Or what do people expect if they sign up for it?
I can speak to that one. So the registry has a sign-up form there on the site. We've been lucky to have a lot of growth in the past couple of years, having taken the reins, had the torch passed to us, proverbially. Currently, we have 4,150 members. That's up from 2,531 when we started. People come onto the site. We offer generalized information about the different pathways that are that kind of lead down through Stoicism. Some of the different viewpoints that are offered, things like the Neo-Stoics, things like the old guard Stoics, and as well as the modern Stoics. We have members on our registry from all walks of life and from all countries. The last time I checked, we do have a representative from literally every single country in the entire world. We have many, many famous authors, Donald Robertson, Ryan Holiday, Gregory Sadler, Massimo, Lawrence Becker. All of those have signed their name on our registry. And it stands as a testament to Stoicism and the virtue of virtue ethics in itself.
So for the number to be up around over 4,000 from 2,000 in a short amount of time, do you think more of the philosophy is getting popular, or you guys are just getting more traction with your project?
I think Stoicism was born in a time of upheaval in that time and in its time frame. And as we've seen the world get more complex, get more in flux, if you will, to borrow from Heraclitus, you see that people are beginning to reach for the things that bring them foundation, bring them resilience, bring them some sort of solidness that they can hang on to. And I think, in my opinion, that's why we see a resurgence of Stoicism so strong, and I'm proud to be a part of what Erik started.
Do you guys think you find most of your people that discover you via the internet, word of mouth, publications? How do you think people are finding you guys?
I think that's a really interesting question, because we don't do a great deal of marketing. We just are very humbly putting our newsletter out to our membership every month. And we have a website that people find when they first start really digging around the huge assortment of Stoic resources on the internet. But Erik, tell us what the early days. How did people find you?
Well, it is interesting because, and I think there's probably quite a lot of what happened in the founding of the Stoic Registry, but my whole purpose was I had never met another person who was a Stoic, and I didn't know if there was such a person in the world. So I decided I needed a registry to see if there's anybody else out there. And I self-identified as a Stoic and had for quite some time. And I wanted to find out if anybody else did. And so I started the registry. And the website actually opened up on May 8th of 1996. That was 30 years ago. I was 51 years old at the time, so that makes me 81 now. But the interesting thing is that I think probably the first 200 or 300 people who found us, and there's really, you said there were so many websites now dedicated to various aspects of Stoicism. At the time, there were literally none. We were the only one. We were the first. We were the first of everyone. If you looked up Stoicism on the website or Stoic communities, you'd basically get nothing, or you'd get the Stoic Registry, and that's probably how we got found in the first place. But the interesting thing is, as I was starting to say, that probably the first 200 or 300 people who came and emailed me personally, and I spoke to all of them on emails. They almost always said the same thing I did, and the same thing that I thought was that I thought I was the only Stoic in the world. So we had a lot of Stoics in the world, or at least several hundred Stoics in the world, who had never known another Stoic, and they always thought that they were alone. And there was a really good feeling about that, and it made me feel good when I was able to communicate with them. And I wrote emails to all the early people who subscribed on. I got to know quite a few of them, and it just went from there. But there was never any real promotion or advertising. I think people just found us because they were looking. And as I said, to begin with, there were very few places to go. There were none. There was the Stoic Registry. That was it. So we basically started the ball rolling with all of these groups, and now we're everywhere. I was very, very pleased to hear what you were saying, Derrick. I find it just simply astounding to suggest that there's a Stoic in every country in the world. I think that's wonderful. I'm really glad to hear that.
One of the beautiful things, Erik, that I've found out is Google keeps a record of the authority that's ascribed to domains based on the age of the domain and how long the website has been active. And ours is up there with some of the top, like 500 businesses in the world that found it, including Google itself, because the site has been online for so long and been solid that whole time.
That's right. It's wonderful.
My goodness.
Erik, how did you go from the idea of the Stoic Registry to implementing it online? Did you have any help? Were you by yourself? How did you do that?
I was by myself in one sense, in that I know nothing about computers, and the only thing is my wife was working at a television station, and some of the engineers, it was ABC, and some of the engineers there knew how to make websites. I was vaguely familiar that websites existed, but I decided, well, I'm going to have to have somebody make one. So I got a guy who was an engineer at KBC TV in San Diego here, and he knew how to make a website. They didn't have all of these patterns that you can just pick up, and AI work to help you with websites in those days. You had to know computers to make a website in those days. So I paid him, I think it was about $400 or $500 to make a website for me, and that was the friendship rate. They were a lot more expensive, and he was just doing us a favor. But I worked long and hard to actually get the money to pay for all this, because I decided it's going to have to pay for itself. I'm going to have to work overtime. That's how I got off on my tangent. I was going to work overtime so I could pay for a computer. The cheapest decent computer you could buy in those days was $2,500. I'd never owned one. I had no idea how to use it. So everything I did was a very steep learning curve for me. And so because it was just, I'd never had any experience in that. And I wasn't very good at computers then. I'm not very good at computers now, but I knew the world needed a Stoic Registry, and I wanted to know if there were anybody out there. So that's how it all got started.
So, Erik, hearing these well-spoken, energetic, enthusiastic folks that are carrying the torch of the Stoic Registry, has it lived up to your expectations?
It has. Actually, I think that Todd and his team have really done an excellent job. I go through the Stoic Registry periodically and just note the number of things that they've done. I think that they've not only done an excellent job, I think the Stoic Registry looks better now than it ever has. And I know, Todd, that you were the right man. 5 years ago, you were a student of mine at the time at the College of Stoic Philosophers. I knew within a few times of our interaction, I knew you were the man I was looking for to take over, and I was right. You've done an excellent job, and I'm very appreciative. I'm very grateful.
I'm kind of curious with you guys, maybe James, I haven't heard from you much yet, but what is your guys' current team? What's your process of maintaining the registry, and how do you come up with your periodicals that you send monthly? Do you guys meet up once a week, once a month? What's your process like?
Yeah, I'll definitely toss this over to Todd in a minute, but I just got to say, yeah, it's once a week. We meet every Wednesday for at least a half an hour, but it's not like work. we're like friends. We do the first thing we do is we go around the horn and we check in with each other. Hey, how you doing? And I've got to tell you, these are some of the most impressive, inspiring people I've met. In the sense of life happens to everybody, right? But the way these people handle it, how they maintain their composure, a positive attitude, and just keeping their mind on virtue and going forward is just amazing. So not only do they weather storms, but in those storms, they still find a way to contribute to the world around them. So this is an inspiring group of people. We meet every Wednesday, and Todd has pretty much been our fearless leader. So I'll kick it over to Todd for more on that.
Oh man. So a couple of things. One is, hey team, thanks. Thanks for shining the light on me. And we all know it's not me, it's us. And it's this incredible team. And Mark, I know this is a podcast, but y'all can't see it. I've been grinning from ear to ear since we started this thing. Erik, you have been our mentor, our light beacon, but we don't get to see you that often. So it is just so delightful that you're here with us at this milestone moment, and we get to partake, you get a taste of the history and see you in action. By the way, you're still going a million miles an hour. We don't see you all the time because you're invested in so many other places, but thanks for being here. And Mark, I think that question was kind of answered, but I would share, for me, the registry has been so much about this team, right? I have been committed to not letting Erik down. I actually wasn't sure I wanted the job because I felt like an imposter. I'm like, Erik, you got a bunch of scholars. P.S. Everybody on this team is a scholar. I am not a scholar. I just try to practice.
Baloney.
And Erik's like, no, you need it. So when I finally said yes, my commitment was to not let him down, to trust fate, and just do the best job that I could. And I got really lucky because all three of these guys, these amazing humans, kind of entered the fold. So together we developed this thing. And the greatest learning has been this community. We get to practice amongst ourselves and then try to create this big tent, try to welcome people into the experiences we ourselves have been, witnessing and partaking in.
One of the beautiful things, Mark, about this, to answer your question as far as where we get the ideas for the registry report itself, is we wanted to make sure that we didn't try to get too arrogant about our knowledge of Stoicism and try to keep it from a personal viewpoint. And so all of our registry reports, all of them that we've done, have been from the standpoint of a personal experience or some sort of personal testimony to how Stoicism is working in our lives. And because we're all friends and because we interact in a virtuous way with each other, or we try to keep each other in check on the virtuous side, it helps us not only help others through our testimony of our Stoic belief, our Stoic philosophy, but it also helps encourage us to write more in terms of that. The only other thing that I want to add, and before we move too far from it, whenever we built the website, Mark, there were approximately 6 pages on the original Stoic Registry site that had content in them. And then there was the booklet that Erik was talking about. Since we moved to the new site, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of almost 75 pages within that site that contain content. But the number one visited link in that entire site is that same book that Erik wrote for the first site. So that should say something about how the foundations of something carry on, no matter how grandiose the house gets, it's still built on top of those first bricks. And Erik, you laid those.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So, Todd, how has the Stoic Registry personally impacted you?
Oh, I love that question, Mark. I think I started. You could already begin to hear my enthusiasm. I will tell you this. Now I'm going back years. I had this point. I was in a leadership development class, and they were asking us to practice courage. to be vulnerable, to stand up and do something that made you really uncomfortable. And it was at that point, it was soon after I had put my name on the Stoic Registry, and I got up in front of the room and I said, I am a Stoic. I didn't say I'm learning Stoic philosophy. I didn't say I'm practicing Stoic tenets. It was one of the first times aloud that I said, I am a Stoic. And I had this physical reaction. I started to shake. I started to sweat. I know it meant nothing to people had no concept of what it meant, but it meant so much to me. It was such an intense commitment to all of those Stoics before us, to my mentor, to my future friends, right? And so that was the beginning, signing on the dotted line and saying it aloud. It's meant a ton. So that personal journey, that commitment piece, briefly, the connection, the community that it drives. We talked about that. I gained so much on the personal community front. That's what makes me flourish and want to invest back time into the site and to the rest of the world. Lifelong learning, right? I think our website, and so many people are trying to do this. We take these ancient thoughts and apply kind of the modern challenges to them. And there's a lot of, again, scholarly approaches out there. We just try to make it personal. How might we relate this to the world? And those, we print the registry report, we send it out, we do a little essay, that's our personal twist, but then we do little bios on anybody that signed up that month. I read every single one of those bios, and inevitably you learn something or you're inspired by that something. It's really cool. And then the last point is, from all of those things, I'm pretty inspired to share out with others. So I look to share with friends, family, colleagues, Stoic concepts. And it's because of kind of that inclusive Big Ten approach that we talk about in the registry that I try to apply to others. And also openly, I feel like Stoic community is underrepresented in females. So I make a particular effort to reach out to the females in my life that I'm super inspired by, to offer help and thoughts and see if there's any connection there.
James, how do you think the Stoic Registry has impacted the world?
In a beautiful way. So in the late 90s, that's when I found the site. And I knew my philosophy didn't really quite fit in with any tradition or religion that I was aware of. And kind of like Erik was saying, you feel kind of alone. You're like, am I the only one that thinks like this? And that's when I stumbled on the Stoic Registry. And I was like, wow, this describes me. This is kind of who I am. And so it was kind of a that's me moment. But then I signed up. I signed on to the registry, and then I moved on with my life. And then it wasn't until a number of years later that I came back. But what the registry did was it gave me a sense of who I was, right? It gave me kind of a foundation to build on. And that's something that the registry does that's deceptively simple, but it's very profound, right? It solidifies identity. It helps answer that big question of who am I? And then from who am I is what's my purpose, right? It kind of goes together. And so the registry gave me that place, right? And it also said, like I said, you're not alone. There are other folks out there like this, right, who think this way. And then about 15 years later, my kids are going into high school and I've got more time on my hands. So I'm like, hey, I remember, I'm a Stoic. I go back to the Stoic Registry. It's connected to the College of Stoic Philosophers. I start taking classes. I get a great mentor, John Knighton. And I was like, okay, I want to be around more people like this. So John Knighton and I said, let's form a group here. And we reached out to the Stoic Registry and we said, hey, are there any other Stoics in the Bay Area? And like something out of a Marvel comic book, the first four groups, or the first four people in the group were John, Jacob, Justin, and James. So like the four J's, that was the core group. And so from that small group, right, we grew, we thrived. And eventually this group, Redwood Stoic, was the initiator and one of the founding members of the Stoic Fellowship, right? And the Stoic Fellowship is an amazing organization, global, and it helps create Stoic groups around the world, right? So there's groups on every continent, thousands of members, They help people connect, form communities, and then participate in activities like month of service, month of gratitude. And the thing about those activities, and this is getting to the heart of your question, the world, right? So what the members do in practicing virtue is that doesn't just stick with the individual, that radiates out, right? So while they're participating, while they're practicing, they're actually making the world a more rational, more social place. And I think you can justifiably say a more beautiful place. And none of this would have happened, right? Our group wouldn't have happened. The Stoic Fellowship wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for that foundation of the Stoic Registry.
Well said. Being the College of Stoic Philosophers podcast, which the college was founded by my dear friend and one of my heroes, Erik Wiegardt, right there. Do you see, and Todd, if you're reading all these people's short bios and putting this together, I know you guys are open to all types of modern Stoic, traditional Stoic. Do you guys see people that are signing up that are having more of an open mind to Stoic physics, because the college is a very physics heavy college? Do you guys see any evidence of that?
My quick take, and then I would invite anybody else that wants to respond. I still think we're getting all ilks. And what's really cool is it almost seems, Derrick is our technologist and is looking at the data. We'll go through these oscillations. We'll see a big group show up from Africa or, Asia, what have you. And then we'll have a lot from the States. We'll have ones that seem like, oh man, this is very much, I'm signing up because of what I'm going through right now. And then we'll have groups that sign up that said, I don't know why it's taken me so long, but I've kind of been a Stoic practitioner for years and years, and now I'm ready to sign on the dotted line. So to answer that question, yes, we'll see some people that are really connected to the physics and the metaphysics side, and then we see all kinds of others. Team, anything else that you would add?
We get about 2,500 to 3,000 people per day that come through the site on average. And that goes up and down throughout the year. But there have been a large surge of Russian and Ukrainian. And anytime there's a war or there's a conflict anywhere in the globe, we start to see more of the common man start to reach for, or the common man or woman, to start reaching for rationality, start reaching for those virtues that seem to be lacking in the guts of a war. So as far as the adoption of Stoicism was founded on a rational physics. It was founded on people that sat and thought hard about it. So the physics of Stoicism is rational. And so if you're going to adopt a rationality and you're not clinging to a religion or a faith, or you don't have one already, the rationality of Stoicism is a nice calm harbor for understanding how the way the world works.
Amen.
And I would have to say that seems to be the basis of most that are not coming from a place of faith.
I'd also like to jump in here, Mark, if I can, to piggyback on Derrick. It was a deep and thoughtful decision on the part of the team to embrace the fact that all of us are graduates of the College of Stoic Philosophers, which comes from a traditional approach to understanding Stoic writing, Stoic thinking, and so none of us shy away from continuing our study of logic, physics, ethics, and practice. But we made a conscious decision as a big tent approach to not necessarily emphasize any one element of that, except in our personal essays. So none of us would be afraid to write, perhaps, about the relationship of Zeus to our own personal lives and what Cleanthes says to us. None of us would shy away from recognizing the importance of syllogism and thinking about the nature of epistemology. None of us would be concerned about putting that to the aside in order to not necessarily, be offensive, perhaps, to other Stoics who are still unsure about the nature of and the importance of those subject matters to their own thinking, philosophical thinking. So it's an honesty that this team has approached this project of continuing the registry to live, and it's but all of us recognize that we tend to lean on the traditional side of the equation.
And my quick add is that's to honor the request of Erik, right? As you are handing off that baton, you're like, hey, just be sure that we are welcoming, we are creating inclusivity, operate with the idea of the big tent, hold whatever personal views that you want, but welcome people. So hopefully, Erik, we're continuing on that trend, making you proud.
If I can jump in here, and I do remember talking to you specifically about that because all along I've had a lot of people who were wanted to divide, subdivide, and I've always felt from the beginning that it should be a big tent. I remember that conversation that we had. I'm glad that you do, and I'm really glad that you have followed through because you've done an excellent job following up on that.
So moving forward, as you guys are approaching your 30-year anniversary, what does the next 30 years look like?
I'll answer and say the beautiful part is we don't know. And that's the good part. That's the good part, because that means all options are open to us. That's the most Stoic way to approach the future, is to realize we don't have any control over it and to just try to prepare for it and be content with whatever happens.
Yeah, and my yes, and Katherine, James, if you have anything to add, we'd love it. I know one of the reasons that we're still doing okay, Erik, I remember so many of them, like, and Todd, and don't forget, and do this. One of your things was like, hey, put effort in it, but don't burn out, right? And like, hey, don't make it about the numbers. Make it about what you love. And so at different points when we've been after annual goals or whatever, we have consciously said there are people out there in the Stoic world that are driving huge numbers and huge participation. And we've always been like, hey, it's about quality. It's about what makes sense to us. Like, build it and they will come, and we'll do it at a pace that's right for us to ensure sustainability. So what 30 years looks like, I'm not sure. But I think it will be built with intention and quality, with an eye on not letting this thing fall down and break apart. Like, we're going to help Stoicism continue to withstand the test of time.
Well said. How do people, to end this conversation, it's been great. Thank you, Derrick, Erik, James, Kathy, and Todd. How do people find the Stoic Registry?
www.thestoicregistry.com or .org, either one.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for being on the College of Stoic Philosophers podcast.
Thanks for having us, Mark.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the College of Stoic Philosophers podcast. Please visit thecollegeofstoicphilosophers.org for information on the college, e-journal, and course offerings. Till next time, pro cop time.